side and white on the other side. The theory is, if you're out in the raft, the Japanese come over, you put the blue over, they can't see you. Maybe. But anyway, we had started our regular routine. We had everything organized. We would catch little hermit crabs, and we would take the back end of the hermit crab and use that as bait and catch fish. And we used the old system that Captain Bligh used. Cook a piece of fish, and the guy put his hand behind it. Now, whose piece of fish is this? And it would always be a little piece like that. We never caught any big fish. Then we found little clams, tiny things, coquinas, I think they call them in Florida. Well, what we would do with those, we'd put them in a can and put water in there and put them in the fire and make like a bouillon. And they took pretty good care of me. In fact, the first day, one of the things that scared me more than anything else, I started heaving blood, and it was coming out on the side of the raft, you know, and one of the fellows was real quick. Then when we got to land, I was laying down in the raft. I said, sit me up a minute. They pulled me up. I could look at the pilot's face, and it looked like, you know, it looked pretty bad for me. I said, lay me back down. But anyway, we knew we were on an island, but we didn't know what island it was. We didn't have any idea. But finally, the pilot and the co-pilot walked up about a mile and a half to the end of this little island, and they found 6 black 55-gallon drums of gasoline, painted black with Japanese hash marks. So we knew it was Japanese. So on the evening of the 6th day, it started to rain very hard. And we were all in this little lean-to there. And one fellow said, I hear a plane. I hear a plane. Sure enough, right out of a cloud, here comes B-24. We had Berry pistol and several, I don't know, maybe 15 rockets. So we fired one of these things. They saw it. They came around. First they came by at about 1,000 feet, and all the guns sound. We had a Mae West radio, which is a radio that you crank. You could operate it in 2 ways. You could, they had a little canister of some chemical, a piece of pipe. You had a little balloon. Put the balloon on the end of the pipe. You put this pipe in the water, salt water, made gas, and you take your antenna up. Well, our particular time to transmit and receive our airplane was 15 minutes after the hour to 18 minutes after the hour, or 15 minutes to the hour, 12 minutes to the hour. But we transmitted hours. But you could key this thing. You can't receive, but you could key it. Nobody heard us. The United States Navy was 40 miles away. Losing the hell of it. Well, anyway, when he came around, he saw us, and what we did, we stood up on the beach, and our radio man keyed our pilot's name, which was Cobb. Cobb, Cobb, Cobb. This fella keyed back, okay, received, where? Then about, he kept right on going. About an hour later, another one came over, phone by a fellow named Flayhaven. Just died here. He came down, and we knew him. He knew where we were and everything. So he dropped us, another one of these overwater kids. He fell in the water, but we were able to retrieve him. Well, after sending up the second flare, here comes a bunch of black fellows. We carried with us a sheet of paper, which was written in English on one side and the Pesce de Mer on the other side, which was the language that these natives spoke. Him fell a white man, friend Queen. And what it did, it told them that we were not Japanese. We were friends of the Queen, not the King, although there was a King in England, not a Queen. Friends of the Queen. And that he should take care of us, take us to his village, and build a new house for us. And the last words were, "These are your orders and you must obey." Well, anyway, these fellas told us where we were. They said, "You're on Santa Isabel," which is a Japanese island held by the Japanese. And between us and Guadalcanal was a base called Recatta Bay. Recatta Bay was where the float planes always operated against the American fleets. We were not, as I told you about the Battle of Savo Island, we were not even in the league with the Japanese at the beginning. We didn't have float planes that operated to carry flares. We didn't have float planes that could stay up for 5 hours. We didn't have torpedoes that were 21 feet long. We didn't have cruisers in it with torpedo tubes. All their cruisers were. But anyway, this black fellow stayed with us all night. I had the only watch that had survived. I had a Mido, my brother-in-law, was waterproof. And I'll never forget, we're sitting around the fire there, and they had brought yams. They're like a sweet potato, but they're not sweet, and they're about this big. And their idea of cooking them is they just throw them in the fire. And then they pull them out when they're good and black. And then they take a machete and cut the pieces off and do some yams. Anyway, they stayed with us all night. And everything we put down, you weren't looking at the red. And I could understand it because they were completely isolated. Before the war, they had traders that went back and forth and brought them fish hooks, and brought them claws, and stuff like that. Anyway, I lost my T-shirt. But about 8 o'clock the next morning, we began to think, well, somebody ought to be here. Time went by and time went by, and then at noon we decided, hell, if the Japanese come by and we're on the outside here, they're going to see us, and we've got to get inside again. Because they said the route to their village would be through lagoons. So we get in these canoes, 2 big canoes, pack the rafts, deflate them, put them in the canoes, and we're going along, they're all paddling like, you know, and the canoes that they have a freeboard about like that. So they're sloshing water, and they call bailing washi-washi. When they say washi-washi like that, they'd use a coconut shell, and they'd have 3 or 4 of these things, blobs of water, in the air at the same time. Well, we had been in the canoes about an hour, I guess, and we looked back, and where we were, here was a PBY and 17 fighters. So, fired a flare, didn't open, just went. But we had 2 more. The second one opened okay. So here they come. The PBY drug the lagoon. Those PBYs were called Dumbos. They did a hell of a job. Anyway, he drugged the lagoon a couple of times, came down, landed. The natives took us over to the plane, and they gave them, I must say, 12 cartons of cigarettes, and then they gave them 2 boxes of braided tobacco. I'd never seen that before. But that's what they used before the war, sort of a trading. Looked like a rope. They gave them 2 boxes of that, and they gave them Hershey bars. When we got on the plane, I was a bit of a sight. I had a abdominal bandage, which was a pretty big bandage. I had that all over my head. And I had sulfanilamide powder in all the cuts. It looked like sand. Then, one of the first things that happened, I'm sitting back there by the waist windows. The fellow comes back and he says, I don't know whether you're an officer or enlisted man, but everybody gets a drink. A drink. I'm talking about on a Navy airplane. Whiskey. So we had a drink of whiskey. Then they gave us a hot meal on this BBY. I couldn't believe it. We landed down at a place called Tulagi, taken ashore, and Admiral Mark Mitchell was standing there when he dropped us off in the Higgins boat. And he came around, he gave everybody a half a pint of old brandy. And I was taken back over, we were taken back over to Guadalcanal the next day after I got sewed up. Then we were sent down to the New Hebrides for 2 days, then down to New Zealand. If you can imagine getting off an airplane in New Zealand, where they got streetcars, and all you've been looking at is palm trees and sand. So it was marvelous. Then we came back on a Dutch ship that was converted to a hospital ship called the Sommelsdijk. Took 19 days from New Zealand to San Francisco. During the trip, something happened to my ear, and they went in and opened it up and got out some aluminum fragments. Then we were sent to a hospital in Alabama. Then my career went on to other things, but I stayed being a Bombadier. I went to Minneapolis Honeywell School of Aeronautical Electronics to become an autopilot's officer. At the end of the war, I was signed out for all the autopilots at Mount Home, Idaho. I did fly B-29s out of Pueblo, Colorado. I had about 15 flights. Now, if you want to talk about Panama, I'll tell you what's happening in Panama. If you just bear with me. You know, the time is. What happened in Panama? Panama is a country very akin to the United States. A lot of people think, you know, they think they're almost Americans. Many, many years, the United States has been preeminent down there. We had a canal, it was ours. The land was ours in perpetuity, which is, theoretically, you can't have a contract that's in perpetuity, but we had one. Well, then Jimmy Carter came along and decided to give them the canal and pay them to take it. But you did. We had a revolution there, a fellow named Torrijos. Colonel Torrijos, who later on was General Torrijos, he took over. And one of his side partners was Antonio Noriega. Torrijos was killed in a plane crash. There were 2 generals who took over after him. And for one reason or another, they were all dismissed, and then Noriega came in. Noriega is probably involved in the drug traffic up to his elbows. The country itself, when the United States decided to put pressure on Panama, they put sanctions on them. They froze their money in the United States. They did not pay them any of the money that the Panama Canal earned. Of course, that was almost intolerable to the Panamanians. But finally, Noriega did put a foot wrong. His people got out of line, and the invasion went on. Well, we were here. My wife and I were here when that invasion went on. One of my good friends who went to Emory lives on a place called Itea, which is a point of land. He lives in a big condominium that looks down on the Papal Nuncio, where Torrijos took asylum. So I called Gabriel, and I said, what's going on down there? He says, oh, I got a front row seat. I can look right down and see Noriega. He said, you know, we have American troops surrounding this thing. And he said it was raining yesterday morning, and my wife went down because some of the troops had come into the garage. So she went down and got their names, telephone numbers, and called their families, told them that everything was okay. He said, now my wife, who's the daughter of a president of Panama, hasn't had a frying pan in her hand in 50 years. She went up and baked a cake. When I went back after the invasion, talked to some of my friends, every one of them told me where he was during the invasion. One fella happened to be at a big party, goes back to his house, makes himself a cup of coffee. He said, I walked out on the porch, and it was the 4th of July, midnight. That's when it hit. Panama now is in very good condition. The money is stable. Of course, it's the U.S. dollar. There's a lot of business going on, a lot of building going on. There's still drugs going through there.